Hello, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Anthony DeSimone with his newest edition of Penguins Pointers, number 25, the Big 2-5. Penguins are only 2 games away from winning the Stanley Cup. Tell you what, that was against what my prediction was. I honestly thought the Penguins weren't going to get through the Washington Capitals, but they continue to prove me wrong and play exceptionally well. With that established, let's jump in and let's talk about some stuff that I noticed in this series against the San Jose Sharks. First and foremost, we're going to have to see how the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to handle leading 2-0 in the Stanley Cup Final. Will the Penguins put their foot on the gas and pedal through and win this series outright real quick in a 4 or 5 game series? Or are the Penguins going to get caught taking their foot off the gas a little bit here and have the Sharks come back and maybe even tie this series up at 2 and send it back to Pittsburgh? It's going to be really interesting to see what kind of game plan Sullivan and the Penguins bring on the ice tonight, as they are up 2-0 for the first time in a series in this playoff season. They've not gone up 2-0 yet. They've gone up by 2 games, but they haven't gone up by 2-0 yet. So let's see how that goes handling the Sharks as we move on here in the Cup Finals tonight. Despite that lead, though, these teams are pretty much evenly balanced across the board. In terms of goals, the Penguins and Sharks have about the same goals there, 66 for the Sharks, 63 for the Penguins. In terms of goals allowed, 46 apiece, so they don't give up a ton of goals compared to what they score. Their penalty kills are almost identical at the low 80% mark. The discrepancies between these two teams are the power play, which the Sharks have a 6% advantage on the Penguins, and in the shot department, where the Penguins are out shooting the Sharks by 9 shots across the entire playoffs, not just this series. Everywhere else, they're pretty evenly balanced. Face-offs were 50 to 46%. Saves made were about identical in the high 20s. So these two teams, despite that series lead, are pretty equally balanced. So don't count the Sharks out just yet. If you're a Penguins fan, these Sharks have a great opportunity still to come back into this series, especially considering they have 2 home games now in what they call the Shark Tank, which San Jose has been pretty darn good at home this season, both during the regular season and in the playoffs. They actually have the league best power play at home, is when they're the most deadly on the power play, and you'll see it tonight if the Penguins take a penalty. A lot of the Sharks fans will start playing the Jaws music, and the fans will actually start making using their arms to make like a shark closing in on the predator, or on their prey, I should say. So it's kind of fun to watch. So we might get to see that tonight, but they are very deadly on the power play at home. So, and you'll see how that reflects on my tips to win tonight as we move further on into the podcast. But it's going to be a tough road for the Penguins to get a victory in the Shark Tank tonight. I don't think that the Sharks are going to let the Penguins go up 3-0, and I don't think the Penguins are going to do it themselves. I think this will be a 2-1 series lead after tonight. Regardless, the way I see this series panning out, it's either going to be a 5 or 7 gamer, unless the Sharks have a comeback, of course. But for the Penguins, if the Penguins want to win the Stanley Cup, I don't know about you, I'd rather the Penguins win it at home in either 5 or win it in 7. I'd hate to win it on the road, because 2 of our 3 Stanley Cups, the Penguins have won on the road. So let's win the Cup at home this year, boys. I mean, if not, hey, winning the Cup's winning the Cup. If you got to win it on the road, win it on the road. But, if you had to pick an ideal situation, I'd pick to win it at home. But, hey, if the opportunity arises that the Penguins can win it, just take it. Anyway, my little rant about that. But moving on. Keep the shots coming. The Penguins have outshot their opponent now 11 games in a row. That's unprecedented, and that is kudos to the Penguins' defense for blocking shots, and that is kudos to the offense and Sullivan for telling their players to keep putting the puck on net. A lot of great things happening, and that's a lot of the reason why the Penguins are winning games in the playoffs this year. And if you guys remember, I talked about it in numerous other podcasts. Statistically, the teams that take the most shots on average during the season have had great success in the playoffs, including Stanley Cup championships and great finishes in terms of winning the Stanley Cup. Most teams that win the Cup are in the top 10 for shots on goal that season. Teams that have gotten the number 1 spot on that have won the Stanley Cup. over the last, what was it? I think I went back to 2000. I've won it 5 or 6 times. So getting the shots on net results in winning the Stanley Cup, in case anybody hasn't picked up on that yet. And I think Sullivan's got the right idea with his players putting all those shots on net. So keep those shots coming. One other thing I want to talk about, and this is actually kind of a weakness for Matt Murray as well, and we'll talk about that in just a second, but how to beat Martin Jones. Martin Jones has stopped most of the Penguins' shots that could have easily made both of these games, blowouts for the Penguins. They've played so well that if he wasn't stellar in net, the Penguins would have easily put up 5 or 6 goals a night. What I've noticed is he is a strong down-low goaltender. Anything at his feet, anything at pad and glove level, he's got. He's done very well up there. The only time the Penguins have been able to beat Martin Jones is if they get him upstairs. Glove side high, off the crossbar, stick side high, between the armpits. Those are his weak spots that I've noticed. And I watched a couple of the other playoff series that he's played with the Sharks in. And it's pretty much the same formula. He's a great goaltender down low. Any of those low shots, 5-hole, stuff like that, aren't going to get by Martin Jones, really. It's stuff upstairs that's going to get him. He doesn't have a very good glove. It's not to say it's not good at all, but it's not as good as where he is strong in other areas. So the Penguins need to get some of those shots elevated. And if they can do that, I think they'll get a couple more goals on the board. So something to keep in mind as you're watching the game. Look where the shot placements are for the Penguins and see if they make that adjustment here tonight in Game 3. On the flip side, this is also a weakness for Matt Murray. Matt Murray is a great goaltender down low. You saw him in the situations where there were mad scraps. He's calm, he's cool, collective, and can see the puck and stop the play. Most of his goals glove side high this season in their playoffs. You can just watch almost any series in any game, the goal he's given up, glove side high, every time. It's almost because 2 things happen when he gives up that goal. A, his glove doesn't get elevated enough to snatch it out of the air. He only goes about neck high with his glove blocker. And B, he ducks his head. And I don't know if it's maybe just a fear thing that he has to work out to not be afraid to get hit in the head with the puck or what. But he ducks his head when a shot goes high. And I don't know about you. If I have to use my head to make a save, I'm going to make the save with my head. It might hurt a little bit, but you got to make the save. So that's something to watch on the flip side. I'm sure the Sharks have noticed it just like every other team has. And the best team so far to take advantage of that has been Tampa Bay. Has really exploited that in the last series. Hence why we saw Marc-Andre Fleury in for a game and a half. So just some stuff to look at as you're watching Game 3 tonight. As you guys know, Game 3 is tonight, 8 o'clock. It is a road game in the Shark Tank over in San Jose. We'll see if jet lag affects anybody here in this game. If we have a slow start by the Penguins, you can almost assume it's going to be jet lag causing it. But this is an opportunity for the Penguins to really put their foot down on the Sharks and get a stranglehold on them here in this series. If they can go up 3-0, there's a great opportunity for the Penguins to wrap this up another 4 or 5. So, good chance for the Penguins tonight. The tips to win that I think, no penalties. Penguins have to be disciplined. They have to play smart hockey. They cannot end up in the penalty box because San Jose will make the Penguins pay if they go into the box tonight. Forechecking and shots. It's worked really well in Games 1 and 2, and I assume it's going to continue to work in Game 3 if they utilize that same strategy again. Players pinching in on the boards, the defensemen pinching down, and the forwards covering up the defense when they do so. The Penguins need to keep that aggressive forecheck and continue to pepper the goaltender with shots. Even if it's a bad angle shot or a simple wrist shot that you know the goaltender is going to save, take the shot anyway. Make the goaltender make a save. Lastly, shot blocking. Penguins got to keep that up. It is keeping the Sharks to a one-and-done situation when the forwards, Bonino, or you got Bonino, Kunitz, Kuhnhackl, players like that, Cullen, that get in the lane, block shots as forwards, and send that puck out to center ice. When players do that, that's a one and done. The Sharks have to retreat out of the offensive zone, gather themselves, and go back in. And I think that's why the Penguins are keeping the shots down on Matt Murray, is because they're blocking so many shots, and they're doing quick exits out of their defensive zone, which are resulting in one-and-done situations for the Sharks that are really frustrating the team. I think in the second game, halfway through the second period, the Sharks only had 9 shots in the game. That's impressive to keep a playoff team, a Stanley Cup finalist, to 9 shots in a game. That's pretty impressive. So kudos to the Penguins defense. But the other thing is it keeps Murray fresh in the game. You know, he doesn't have to be scrambling around like Martin Jones is and getting tired trying to make all these saves. He's been big when they've needed him to make crucial one-on-one saves and breakaway saves. He's been great on 2-on-1 and 3-on-1 opportunities so far. So Matt Murray is there when they need him, but otherwise keep the shot blocking up and the stellar defense. And I think there's a chance that the Penguins can go up 3-0 in this series as long as they keep their foot on the gas tonight. Penguins cannot take their foot off the gas. We've seen this before with teams going into the Stanley Cup Final. I hope the Penguins don't make the same mistake. But time will only tell, as you guys know. We'll find out tonight come about 11:30 when that game wraps up. We'll know if this is either going to be a 4-game or 5-game series or if this is going to take a 5 or 6-game stint for the Penguins to hopefully pull off a Stanley Cup victory. So this next podcast is probably the last time you're going to hear from me. The next time you hear from me is either if the Penguins, when the Penguins either win or lose in the Stanley Cup Finals. So the last time I'll do that. And that'll just be kind of a podcast for a recap of the season, some of my top moments from the season, what I think were the top 10 things that happened to this team over the course of this last season, and maybe look at some other great moments in the history of this season. But until next time, guys, thanks for listening in. If you haven't already done, like and subscribe to the channel. I will catch you guys all next time, hopefully after the Penguins have raised the Stanley Cup. So let's go Pens, and let's hope they bring home Lord Stanley to Pittsburgh. Take care, everybody.